We begin tonight with a big development in this story that we've been watching very closely, the debate that's happening overseas right now over legislation to execute people for being gay. It's the anti-homosexuality bill of 2009. It's being considered in the nation of Uganda, and a number of Americans, prominent and otherwise, are implicated in the genesis of this bill. As written, it calls for a sentence of life in prison for being gay. It also calls for death by hanging for being gay and being HIV positive. Which brings us
Hello, Secretary
to
Clinton. Thank you so much for speaking to us today. You spoke about the situation in Uganda. Could you please talk to us a little bit more about how the United States can protect the rights of LGBT people in areas where those rights are not respected?
Yes, and first let me say that over this past year we have elevated into our human rights dialogues and our public statements a very clear message about protecting the rights of the LGBT community worldwide. And we are particularly concerned about some of the specific cases that have come to our attention around the world. There have been organized efforts to kill and maim gays and lesbians in some countries that we have spoken out about and also conveyed our very strong concerns about to their governments, not that they were governmentally implemented or even that the government was aware of them, but that the governments need to pay much greater attention to the kinds of abuses that we've seen in Iraq, for example. We are deeply concerned about some of the stories coming out of Iran. In large measure in reaction, we think, to the response to the elections back in June. There have been abuses committed within the detention facilities and elsewhere that we are deeply concerned about. And then the example that I used of a piece of legislation in Uganda which would not only criminalize homosexuality but attach the death penalty to it. We have expressed our concerns directly, indirectly, and we will continue to do so. The bill has not gone through the Ugandan legislature, but it has a lot of public support by various groups, including religious leaders in Uganda, and we view it as a very serious potential violation of human rights. So it is clear that across the world this is a new frontier in the minds of many people about how we protect the LGBT community, but it is at the top of our list because we see many instances where there is a very serious assault on the physical safety and an increasing effort to marginalize people. And we think it's important for the United States to stand against that and to enlist others to join us in doing so.
Which brings us to a teachable moment in how to do more than hope on this issue. Today, a Ugandan official announced that those two most controversial provisions in the bill will be dropped. The Ugandan ethics minister telling Bloomberg News that an amended version of the anti-gay bill will not include the death penalty or life imprisonment. According to this official, the new version of the anti-homosexuality bill is expected to be presented to the Ugandan parliament in 2 weeks. But first, we begin with some breaking news on a story that we have been covering all week. The anti-homosexuality bill of 2009. It calls for a sentence of life in prison and even potentially execution for being gay. This law is being considered in the nation of Uganda. This bill has been big news in the United States because of its many connections to conservative American politicians and activists. Politicians like Iowa Republican Senator Chuck Grassley, who is reported to be a member of the secretive religious organization known as the Family, a family famous for operating the C Street House in Washington and known for being proudly interventionist in religion and politics in Uganda. Earlier this week, the largest gay rights group in the state of Iowa issued a petition calling on Iowa Senator Chuck Grassley to denounce the legislation, specifically because of his ties to the family. Senator Grassley did not. He said he was busy and he said besides, he doesn't know anything about this bill. He also denied having anything to do with the family. But about an hour ago, the senator reversed his position on the bill. This statement was just sent over from the senator's office. Quote, "My commitment to traditional values, including how marriage is defined and respect for life, holds true in the United States and around the world. After being asked about legislation being considered in the Ugandan parliament, I contacted the U.S. State Department to get information. I did not have any knowledge about the proposal," which brings us to a teachable moment in how to do more than hope on this issue. Based on what I've been able to learn about the legislation and from the standpoint that I'm a born-again Christian, I can tell you that I don't agree with this unchristian and unjust proposal, and I hope the Ugandan officials dismiss it. Which brings us to a teachable moment in how to do more than hope on this issue.
Tomorrow, President Obama will address the nation's largest gay rights organization as he struggles to reassure the increasingly skeptical gay community that he's on their side. Many activists are losing patience with the president over the administration's lack of progress on gay rights. And MSNBC Chief Washington correspondent Norah O'Donnell has a preview of the speech.
This is a political issue. It needs to stop being a political issue. We need to solve the problem.
During the presidential campaign, Barack Obama promised to pursue gay rights.
We've scorned our gay brothers and sisters instead of embracing them.
But since taking office, Obama has yet to make gay rights a top priority, angering many of his strongest supporters.
Unless the president is willing to take dramatic action soon, at the end of his first term, I do not think people will be satisfied.
At the top of the list, reversing the don't ask, don't tell policy that prevents gays and lesbians from serving openly in the military.
When you look at my record, it's very clear what I've done so far, and that is nothing.
Earning him ridicule on Saturday Night Live.
No, gays in the military, nuh-uh.
The president also hasn't moved to repeal the 1993 Defense of Marriage Act, a federal law that allows states not to recognize gay marriages. Same-sex marriages are legal in 6 states.
It's a belief within the Obama administration that social issues of any kind would derail the president and the administration from the big goals that they have, whether it's reforming the financial system, the economic system, most definitely reforming health care.
Just this June, the president held a reception at the White House for gay rights leaders.
This struggle, I don't need to tell you, is incredibly difficult.
And acknowledged the disappointment.
I know that many in this room don't believe that progress has come fast enough, and I understand that.
The president insisted progress has been made. He has expanded some federal benefits to same-sex partners, but not health or pension benefits. And he has allowed State Department employees to include their same-sex partners in certain embassy programs.
Which brings us to a teachable moment in how to do more than hope on this issue.
This administration is over. I think you guys will have pretty good feelings about the Obama administration.
But for now, gay rights remain part of a very long to-do list for the president.
Hillary Clinton is now viewed favorably by 65% of Americans.
I have never felt so blessed. The challenges that I have faced in this campaign are nothing compared to those that millions of Americans face every day in their own lives. So today, I'm going to count my blessings and keep on going. I'm going to keep doing what I was doing long before the cameras ever showed up, and what I'll be doing long after they're gone. Working to give every American the same opportunities I had, and working to ensure that every child has the chance to grow up and achieve his or her God-given potential. I will do it with a heart filled with gratitude, with a deep and abiding love for our country, and with nothing but optimism and confidence for the days ahead.
This new CNN opinion research poll shows Secretary Clinton has a 71% approval rating, the president at 64%.
And she wants to make sure that that final paragraph in this piece of history is written the right way.
This is now our time.
Dare to compete, Mrs. Clinton.
It's hard to think about what's going on in Washington.
62 counties, 16 months, 3 debates, 2 opponents, and 6 black pantsuits later, because of you, here we are.
Hillary Rodham Clinton, one of the most famous women in the world.
He patiently talked over each of my concerns and carefully evaluated the odds I faced. We both knew that if I ran, I would be on my own as I had never been before. With each conversation, I found myself swinging back and forth. I needed a push. Finally, I got one, but it didn't come from a political advisor or Democratic leader. Dare to...
We all want an America defined by deep and meaningful equality, from civil rights to labor rights, from women's rights to gay rights.